Welcome everyone to This Explainer. Today, we're going on a bit of a sensory and structural journey. We are completely deconstructing one of the world's most complex, celebrated, and honestly, deeply personal dishes, biryani. We're going to look at the exact anatomy of this masterpiece, breaking down the techniques used in some of the finest kitchens to see exactly how science, patience, and tradition all come together in a single pot.
So what exactly makes a biryani perfect? It's a great question, isn't it? Because on the surface, you might just see the basic components, right? Meat and rice. But how does this seemingly simple concept of layered protein and grains transform into a high culinary art form? Well, we're going to explore the precise temperatures, the meticulous layering, and the actual chemical reactions that turn these everyday ingredients into absolute magic. Okay, let's dive into this because this quote right here sets the stage perfectly. Across the subcontinent, the right way to make biryani is fiercely debated. I mean, every region, every family, every grandmother has their own specific, fiercely guarded method. And if you ask them, theirs is the absolutely only right way. But rather than getting caught up in the debate, we're going to explore the meticulous, universal techniques behind a true culinary masterpiece. Component 1. The perfect grain.
Now, you might think making biryani starts the moment you turn on the stove, but the foundation actually begins years before it ever reaches a kitchen. Consider this number, 10 to 12. That is the number of years, yes, years, the basmati rice used in top-tier biryani has been aged, up to 12 years. The older the basmati rice is, the more expensive it becomes, and more importantly, the better its final flavor and texture will be. It's a completely different ingredient from the fresh rice you might just grab off a supermarket shelf.
So why does age matter so much? Well, it turns out, unlike standard freshly harvested rice, which is heavily starchy and tends to clump together, aged basmati actually loses that excess moisture and starch. It yields a much longer grain. When you wash off the remaining surface starch and soak it for about 30 minutes, these aged grains act like perfect little sponges. When they're boiled in a heavily spiced broth, they expand and absorb all those complex aromatic flavors without turning to mush. And here's a major secret. The rice is only cooked to about 70 or 80% completion at this stage. We'll find out why that remaining 20% is so vital in just a moment.
Component 2. Crafting the flavor foundations. You simply can't build a massive flavor profile on a weak foundation. These flavor foundations are meticulously built from scratch. First up, bone-in chicken. Why on the bone? Because a tremendous amount of flavor in meat actually lives inside the bone. Cooking it whole on the bone imparts a far stronger, richer taste to the foundational curry. Then we have ghee, clarified butter, which delivers a taste that's just so much deeper than standard butter. You add a perfectly balanced 50-50 ginger-garlic paste, a deep red chili powder that gives a gorgeous vibrant color, and finally, full-fat Greek yogurt to give the dish a rich, cohesive body. But the base isn't just about the curry, it's about the garnish and texture. Specifically, the fried red onions. This requires incredible precision. Slicing red onions extremely thin and frying them at exactly 325 degrees is non-negotiable. Why? Because if the slices are too thick, they'll look beautifully golden brown on the outside but remain completely raw on the inside. Thin, even slices fried at a strict 325 degrees ensure an even, crispy texture throughout every single bite. Now we get to a truly luxurious element known as shihol. This is a liquid mixture of equal parts butter and cream infused with saffron. Saffron is incredibly prized, often way more expensive than gold, but here's the fascinating science behind it. Saffron on its own won't easily impart its flavor. It actually requires a medium of fat, like the dairy and the butter and cream, to fully release its brilliant golden color and delicate earthy flavor. You don't just throw saffron into a pot. You integrate it meticulously through the shihol.
Component 3. The meticulous art of layering.
And this brilliantly illustrates how it all comes together. Now that we have our isolated, perfected components, the aged rice, the robust bone-in curry, the crispy onions, and that golden saffron cream, it's time to bring them together inside a traditional clay pot or a heavy Dutch oven. It's a beautiful, rhythmic stocking process. You start at the bottom with a layer of the jol fat. This is absolutely essential because if you put rice directly on the bottom, the high heat will cause it to stick and burn. The fat provides a protective moisture barrier. Next, you add that 70% cooked rice, topped with a vibrant scatter of those crispy fried onions, fine ginger juliennes, fresh mint, cilantro, and slit green chilies. Then comes the hearty protein layer, the bone-in chicken curry.
You repeat the garnishes, top it with the last of the rice, and drizzle the remaining golden jol right over the top. It is literally a tower of flavor waiting to be activated.
Component 4. The magic of dum popping.
This final step isn't just baking. It's an act of culinary alchemy. Dum cooking means cooking the food entirely in its own trapped steam. Remember how we only cooked the rice to 70 or 80% earlier? Well, this is where that pays off. The moisture from the chicken curry and the shoal starts to evaporate in the heat, creating an intensely aromatic steam. If that steam escapes, the dish is ruined. The taste and texture completely change. We have to force that steam to revolve continuously inside the pot, finishing the cooking process of the rice and infusing every single grain with the spices.
So, how exactly do you trap that steam? With a dough seal. It's a simple but absolutely vital mixture of flour, water, a little oil, and salt. You take this dough and press it firmly all the way around the rim of the clay pot or Dutch oven, pressing the lid down right into it. It creates the ultimate, impenetrable barrier. No air gets in, and more importantly, no flavor gets out.
Tracking the timeline here, at 0 minutes, the dough seal is applied and locked tight. The pot goes into the oven. For 20 to 25 minutes, the tension builds. Inside that pot, a literal hurricane of saffron, ginger, chili, and chicken broth is swirling into those aged basmati grains. Then, the reveal. The pot comes out and you physically take a spoon and crack open that hard-baked dough crust. The moment you break the seal, a massive fragrant billow of saffron-infused steam is released into the room. It is absolute visual and sensory magic.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured right here. When you dig into that pot, ideally eating with your hands as is tradition, you find a perfect paradox. The biryani is completely unified. The rice has soaked up the rich jal on the chicken curry, yet simultaneously, every component retains its identity. You can taste the sharp bite of the ginger, the cooling fresh mint, the crispy fried onion, and the distinct, elongated grain of the aged rice. It's like a symphony where you can hear every single instrument, but together they make one incredible sound. We've seen how 12-year-old grains, precise onion frying, saffron chemistry, and the steam-trapping magic of a dough seal elevate a dish from simple to spectacular. Biryani is a labor of intense love and structural genius. So, after seeing the anatomy of this masterpiece broken down, what culinary secrets will you bring to your own kitchen? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the science behind the things we love.